Good morning and happy Monday. I am so excited to be with you again for our Motivational Monday Coffee Chat. And today we're going to dive into one of the biggest stumbling blocks to success. I have been coaching people for 23 years now, and I'm going to share with you what trips many people up and keeps them from achieving what they want, so that it doesn't happen to you with whatever it is that you are up to right now in your life. And then we're going to dive into what you need to do so that you can transcend this obstacle and limitation and get back into action creating what you want. All right, so let's begin.
Integrative life coach Diane Altamar. It's good to have you to the show.
Author and life coach Diane Altamar.
So if you weren't with us last week, take some time to pause the video and write down what it is that you want to achieve over the next 12 months. And then we're going to look at what might get in the way of that and how to move beyond that. So here it is. The biggest stumbling block to success is taking consistent action, is lacking the consistency to follow through and continually take the actions that are necessary to get where you want to go. And we're going to talk about why it is so hard sometimes to stay consistent and what you can do to transcend this stumbling block. So let's begin. In my new book, More Than Enough, I share my 3-step formula for success. And I'm going to share with you those 3 steps right now. And we're going to dive into exactly what you can do to get back into action, creating what it is you want. So the first step in the 3-step formula for success is what we talked about briefly a moment ago, and that is to have a strong vision. You have to be clear about what it is that you want, obviously, before you can achieve it. So if you haven't written that down yet, pause the video and write down what I want to achieve over the next 6 months or 12 months is. And then the second step in the 3-step formula for success is to take consistent action that's aligned with your goal. And that's what we're talking about in this video, because it is not always easy to do when fear arises, or you start to doubt yourself, or some other limitation or obstacle starts to get in the way of what it is that you want. And what you do in that moment determines whether you succeed or fail. So why is it so hard to stay consistent? Well, there's many different reasons. One of them is fear arises, or we start to doubt our ability, or things aren't happening fast enough. That's a pretty common one. We don't see the results that we want fast enough, and we get discouraged, and then we stop taking actions that are in alignment with what we want. So let's talk about what you need to do in the moment that you start to notice that you're not doing what it is that you said you were going to do to achieve what you want, that your consistency has waned, that you are very clear that you've lost focus and aren't as passionate about what it is that you said that you want to achieve. There's 2 things to focus on in that moment. The first is to get reconnected to why you wanted to achieve that in the first place. So as I shared in last week's video, my goal is to create a supportive YouTube community here. And my first goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers. And so if I start to get frustrated or discouraged, or things aren't happening fast enough, what I'm going to do is reconnect to the reason that I want to create this YouTube community. The second thing that I'm going to connect with is what is already happening, what is already working. And we touched on that a little bit last week. So one of the things that will give you fuel when you feel like things aren't happening fast enough is, instead of focusing on what's not happening, focus on what is. And it sounds really obvious, but we don't always do it. We can very easily get discouraged and start to focus on the negative. focus on what's not working or how it's not happening fast enough. So what you're going to practice doing is switching your focus to what is already working. I already have 113 subscribers, so I'm going to create content for those people, knowing that as I build this community, that it will be more interactive and more subscribers will join. And the same is true for your goal. Whatever it is that you are up to, that you want to create, start to look at the actions you're already taking, what you have already done in the direction of achieving that goal, and really acknowledge that so that it gives you fuel to continue on. There's also a very powerful exercise in chapter 5 of More Than Enough, which you can download in the description below. It will reconnect you to your confidence and to your greatness and your uniqueness. And it gives you so much energy to reconnect to times in your life when you did achieve what you want, when you were in action, when you had the courage or the strength or the tenacity or whatever it is that you may need to achieve what you're up to right now. It's a very powerful exercise, and there's a link in the description if you want to download that chapter and start to dive in. It will give you tons of energy. I hope that this video was helpful and that it has you thinking about and getting connected to what might get in the way of achieving your goal. And if you're already hitting these obstacles, what you can do to transcend them and get back into action. If you get discouraged, you will love what I shared in last week's video, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. My big goal with this YouTube community is to build a community where we can lift each other up in the pursuit of our biggest dreams. I would love to hear in the comments what you are up to, and also if there's something specific that you know is getting in your way. Share that in the comments below, and I may do a future video about that. Thank you so much for being here for our Motivational Monday Coffee Chat. Have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll see you next Monday.